Welcome to Brainy's GARP SCR Chapter series. This is video number 1, referring to Chapter number 1, Foundations of Climate Change. What is climate change? The subchapters and topics of Chapter 1. In order to run you through the material, we will be using Brainy's proprietary summary notes. This is a 100-page summary of the 200-page GARP curriculum. You can get this by purchasing our gold package. You can download it and you can print the summary, while the GARP material is only available online unless you buy the entire book that costs $300. Let's go right into Chapter 1 and switch over to our summary. I'll just go through the summary pages here so that you get a feel. The chapter starts off by describing the difference between weather and climate. Weather refers to short-term atmospheric conditions, and climate describes long-term patterns of weather. It goes on with an overview of the observations of climate change. This is a long chapter that touches on the first discoveries of a warming planet. The average temperature has risen by 1.1 degrees. This provides confidence. The warming of the climate system is described as being unequivocal, meaning beyond any doubts by scientists. Describes other methods to estimate the climate history of the Earth. The direct observation and tracking only goes back 170 years, but there are proxies that go way further back, which include tree rings, corals, and other nature products. This provides evidence that even across very large time frames, climate has been warming above averages, pointed to an evidence that the steep increase in the past 150 years are exacerbated by human cause. The next 2 chapters describe the energy balance and the greenhouse effect. The energy balance is the energy reaching the Earth from the sun, which must be equal to the energy that the Earth radiates back to the space. This determines the temperature of the climate system. The greenhouse effect talks about the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which absorb infrared radiation and reduce the amount of energy that the Earth radiates back to space, and this creates a warming effect. You'll read about carbon dioxide, water vapor, and methane, which are responsible for the trapping of heat and causing the greenhouse effect. The next chapter actually goes through the different gases. You learn how carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has accumulated over the past 80 years. You'll read about the other gases, including water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, carbons, and see them on a table which shows which gas has the strongest impact on our climate. The chapter describes aerosols, which have a cooling effect. And then another topic of Chapter 1 is the attribution of modern warming. In other words, how can scientists be sure to attribute the warming of the climate to human activities? They look at natural development like tectonic processes, the output of the sun, which hasn't changed much, orbital variations, and unforced variabilities, and arrive at the conclusion that none of these effects could explain such a fast warming over the last 100 years. The chapter further describes the shared socioeconomic pathways. These are different projected future scenarios of the trajectory of carbon emissions and how the world will react to those. These are referred to SSPs, and SSP 1 represents the best case scenario where economies shift towards an environmentally friendly path. On the other end of the spectrum is SSP 5, which describes a scenario where economic maximization is the key. Arrived through fossil fuels power, this would lead to an increase of 5.5 degrees in temperature if we followed SSP 5. With the SSPs described, the chapter goes on to explain what will happen if we hit certain increased thresholds. It breaks down the impacts on temperature, precipitation, sea level, and ocean acidification. We will also learn about the albedo effect and the positive feedbacks, as well as the impact on society and natural ecosystems. In Chapter 1, you will also learn how governments and other actors respond with policy responses. These can be climate change adaptation, building a more robust environment for the effects we're seeing today, climate change mitigation, finding ways to reduce carbon emissions, particularly from high carbon emitting industries such as energy and utilities. This includes deriving more energy from wind and solar energy. Another response to climate change is the so-called geoengineering, finding ways to manipulate the climate system to prevent the climate from changing. This can be via solar radiation management or carbon dioxide removal. And finally, mitigation targets. This is where the Paris Agreement is described with its limit well below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. That's a bit of an overview of what you can expect from Chapter 1. We're using our own summary notes here. If you buy the Brainy package for GARP SCR, you receive these notes, so you don't have to always go to the 200-page curriculum. All right, see you in the next video.